Good day, people. I'm Hira Deepika. In Ponniyin Selvan, this is episode number 7. Vanangamudiyar requested Paruvettaraya to clear his last doubt, which was why is younger queen's palanquin, which should have been in women's courtyard, is placed here in the confidential meeting? Paruvettarayar said, "Good question. Hold on for some more time. I shall clear your doubt before the meeting concludes. Let no one think that my devotion or loyalty to Paruvettarayar is less than that of anyone else's. Since he invited us to speak freely, I asked. Apart from that, I am ready to obey all his orders. I shall give up my very life if he commands it," said Vanangamudiyar. I very well know about Vanangamudiyar. I also recognize the trust you have all placed in me. Let Emperor Sundara Chola live long in this world and rule this Chola empire for a long time. However, unfortunately, if something happens to him, we have to decide who is eligible to succeed the Chola throne. Each one of you must think and then express an impartial opinion. Do permit me to recall some old history to your memories. King Kandaraditya, who was a great philosopher and devoted soul, died unexpectedly 24 years ago. When he died, his son Madhurandaka was an year-old child. The queen of Kandaraditya, Sembiyan Madevi, announced to us the wishes of the king. That is, his younger brother Arinjaya was to succeed the Chola throne after him. Therefore, we crowned Prince Arinjaya as the Chola monarch. However, Arinjaya Chola passed away in a year while on throne as fate decreed. When Arinjaya Chola died, his son Parandaga Sundara Chola was a 20-year-old youth. Considering the welfare of the nation, all of us, the ministers, advisors, territorial chieftains, the heads of all the clans, and leaders of the cities and districts decided unanimously and crowned Sundara Chola. Until 2 years ago, he too ruled the nation with justice. He respected our opinions and expanded the Chola power to all the neighboring nations under its sway. But now the health of Sundara Chola is the cause of our concern. In this situation, who is eligible to succeed the emperor? Madhurandaga, the cherished son of King Kandaraditya, is now grown up. He has the intelligence, education, the devotion to God, all the qualities for a person to be worthy of the throne. Sundarachola's son Aditya Karigala, who is younger to Madhurandaga by an year, is stationed in Kanchi as the commander-in-chief. Who between these two has the right to succeed to the throne? Is it justice if the elder brother's son, Madhurandaga, inherits the nation? Or is it legal for the grandson of the younger brother to succeed? Each of you must consider this and clearly state your decision. Madhurandaga, the son of the elder brother Kandaraditya, has the right to succeed. That is legal, justice, tradition, said Sambhurayar and several other voices from the group. We are all of the same opinion. Madhurandaga deserves the throne. However, is everyone here ready to support and sacrifice themselves for this belief? Asked Paruvettarayar. Sambhurayar said, "We are ready to take such an oath of support. Before that, we all require some clarifications. Is Prince Madhurandaga ready to accept the throne and rule this empire? We have heard that the cherished son of Kandaraditya has given up the pleasures of worldly life and is only involved in devotion and worship of Lord Shiva. We have also heard that his mother, the elder Prati, Sembian Madevi, is opposing his ascent to the throne. We wish to know the truth about this from you. A good point, and you raised it at the correct time. The whole nation knows that the elder Prati, Sembian Madevi, discouraged her only son from having any interest in affairs of the state and raised him as a Saivite. But no one knows the real reason behind such behavior. The elder Prati feared that his very life would be in danger if her son Madhurandaga had any wish to rule the empire. Now, moving on to Madhurandaga, for some time his mind has slowly undergone some transformation. He feels that the Chola Empire is his and that it is his duty to rule the nation. If he knows that all of you are ready to support his cause, he is ready to come forward at a suitable time and openly declare his intentions. What proof do we have for this? Asked several voices. I will, without delay, produce proof that will satisfy all of you. But is each one of you ready to take an oath of allegiance for this cause? Several men said, we will. Then I'll provide you all the proof and let me also clear the doubts raised by Vananga Mudia. Saying this, Pazhuvettaraiah neared the closed palanquin. Prince, please come out and grace us with your appearance. Permit these brave warriors who are ready to sacrifice their very life, wealth, and soul for you to have a look at you. Vandiyadevan, who was sitting behind the pillar on the upper terrace and listening to all these discussions keenly, now peeped out carefully and looked down. Just like before, a golden skinned hand parted the curtains of the palanquin. It seemed to be the very same fair hand he had seen once before. But he now realized that he had mistaken the golden bracelet worn by royal men to be a bangle. A handsome figure like Manmadan stepped out of the palanquin. It was Prince Madhurandaga, son of Kandaraditya Deva. Vandiyadevan told to himself, I mistook it to be a girl because of the closed palanquin. But did Alvarkadiyan Nambi also make the same mistake? Vandiyadevan looked around to see if Nambi was still above the wall. He could see nothing as there was shadow cast by trees in that spot. By now, Vandiyadevan heard some voices from below. Long live Madhurandaga! Praise the Crown Prince Madhurandaga! Vetrivel! Veeravel! It was passionate hailing from the men below. Vandiyadevan understood that it would be dangerous to remain any longer in that spot, so he turned around and hurried back to lie down in his spot. When he went back to bed that night in Kadambur, he experienced a feeling of being caught up in a whirlpool. He felt that he had fallen into the huge whirlpool of a political conspiracy without a choice. The information he had learned from the midnight meeting at Kadambur baffled him. The dangers from external enemies to the Chola Empire had been overcome only a few years ago. Now, internal disruption and conspiracy were racing in the nation. What would be the consequence of this internal disagreement, which is more dangerous than external conflict? Are not the important officials, ministers, chieftains, and famous warriors of the Chola nation involved in this frightening endeavor? Is this the first meeting of this kind? I wonder to how many other places has the prince been taken in a closed palanquin by Pazhuvettarayar. Until that day, Vandiyadevan never doubted about Prince Karigala's eligibility to the Chola throne. He had never heard anything about Madhurandaka, the son of King Kandaraditya's rights to the succession, or that he would demand his rights. In fact, Vandiyadevan had never thought about such things. Aha! I started on this journey from Kanji while building all sorts of dream fortresses. I desired to attain eminent positions in the Chola Empire by pleasing the Crown Prince Karigala. I even hoped that in due course I would regain the ancestral territories of my Varna clan. The very branch that I caught hold of to achieve all these dreams seems ready to snap. Thinking of all such things, when he came back to bed the second time that night, Vandiyadevan couldn't sleep for a long time. In the end, towards the late hours of the night, just as the eastern skies were turning light, he somehow went to sleep. The next morning, Vandiyadevan woke up puzzled when Kandamaran came and shook his shoulders. Vandiyadevan said, "All that I recall is coming up to bed after the gypsy dance. I am just getting up. Oh ho! It is already so late. It must be several hours past sunrise. I have to start immediately. Kandamara, tell your servants to get my horse ready." "What is the hurry? You must stay here for at least 10 days before you go on," said Kandamaran. "No, my dear fellow, I'm on my way to visit my uncle in Tanjavur who is sick. His survival itself is doubtful, so I have to go quickly to see him. I must leave immediately." "Oh, okay. Then let's start after the morning meal. I shall accompany you till the banks of river Kollidam." "How can you do that? You have so many important guests. How can you leave them and—" "I have no guest more important than you. Yes, the guests are important people, but my father and other officials of the palace can take care of them. I'll be happy only if I have a chit chat with you for a little while along the road, and so I shall certainly come with you till Kollidam." After a couple of hours, both the friends mounted on their horses and started from Samburaya's palace towards Kollidam river bank. Vandiyadevan said, "Kandamara, even though I spent just a night in your house, it was very useful for me. I just have a disappointment. You used to recount all sorts of things about your sister while we were on the banks of the North Pennar. When she peeped from hiding behind your mother, I could not even see her properly. And what was your sister's name?" "Manimegalai." "Oh, what a delightful name, if her character and beauty are like her name." Kandamaran intervened and said, "My friend, please forget my sister. Do not even utter her name." "What is this, Kandamara? Everything seems topsy-turvy. Even last night you hinted that I may become a son-in-law to your clan." "It is true that I said it. Since then, the situation has changed. My parents arranged to wed my younger sister elsewhere." Vandiyadevan cheered within his heart, "Long live Manimegalai." He did not have any trouble guessing who was selected to wed Manimegalai. They must have pledged her to Madhurandaga, who stepped out of the closed palanquin. They are perhaps arranging such marriage alliances in order to gain strength for the prince's cause. Pazhuvettarayar is definitely a dangerous and capable politician. "So, you have decided one of your rich guests who came last night as the bridegroom? In fact, who would give their daughter to a poor orphan like me? What is the use now if my ancestors had ruled kingdoms ages ago?" "My friend, don't think so low of me or my family. What you think is not the reason. There's something much more important. You will agree if you know of it, but I cannot reveal the reason now. When the time comes, I'll tell everything to you in the first place. Alright, if you don't wish, don't tell me anything. Don't even open your mouth about it. I think I can see the river ahead of us. A ferry boat was waiting on the river bank. Two boatmen with long poles in their hands waited readily. A gentleman appeared to be a Saivite was already seated in the boat. On reaching the river bank, Vanyadevan said, I came without even thinking. I cannot take this horse of mine on the boat. Look behind. Two of my footmen are following us. One of them will lead your horse back to Kadambur. The other fellow will come with you on this boat. He'll procure you a horse on the other shore, said Kandamaran. You must have thought of Kollidam similar to Palar and Pennar rivers. You wouldn't have known that you'll not be able to cross this river with a horse. I knew that. Aha! How thoughtful! You're my true friend. The two friends parted each other with a hearty embrace. Vanyadevan walked down the river bank and got into the boat. The boat was ready to leave. Suddenly, from a distance, they could hear shouts, Stop! Stop! Stop the boat! Said a voice. The fellow who shouted came running up the bank. Recognizing the newcomer as a Vaishnavite, the Saivite in the boat said, Go, let the boat go. I will not come in the same boat with him. Let him come in the next boat. With one glance, Vandiyadevan recognized the Vaishnavite to be Alvarkadiyan Nambi. So Vandiyadevan looked at the boatman and said, Wait a bit, let him also come. There's plenty of room in this boat. Let us take him. Vandiyadevan wished to question Alvarkadiyan and learn more about the happenings of last night. Let's catch upon the discussion between Vandiyadevan and Alvarkadiyan Nambi about the last night happenings in episode number 8. Please do like and share my videos and subscribe to my channel to continue listening to this wonderful epic novel.